Hello everyone, this is Harless58 signing on to do a video review of the Parrot Bebop 2. So I got this as a gift. This is the Parrot Bebop 2 FPV package, which stands for the first person point of view. And basically, or essentially the essence of that package is all based upon this headset. And so that's what we're going to start off with the review. So the headset itself is fairly comfortable. It's cushioned around the edges here. It's lightweight. You can adjust the head strap accordingly to fit your needs. The 30 or so minutes, 25 minutes that you get out of the Parrot Bebop 2 is more than enough time. I'm sorry, what I meant to say was in that time you will not, I don't believe that you'll grow uncomfortable at all when using this headset. It is important to note that if you want to get FPV out of the Bebop 2, you do not need this particular headset. You can get any sort of Google Cardboard or VR headset that's available. Only thing you have to make sure is that there is a USB or the USB portion of the phone is exposed on the side, as is here. So the way this works is this slides out. You open this here up, you place your phone inside, you close it, and then you slide it back in here. You can plug in a micro USB here, and then on the Skycontroller 2, you plug in the regular USB portion there. So the headset, like I said, is really comfortable, easy to use. It's I guess the plus side is also that you can utilize this for things outside of FPV, and you can use it for virtual reality content that Google may have, or if you have iOS, I'm pretty sure there has to be some VR content there as well. So it's cool. I will say my personal experience, I've used this seldomly only because, well, I'll touch on that in a second, but it is a nice headset to use. It's nice. Moving on, we'll go ahead and talk about the Skycontroller 2. So if you have been doing any research, or if you have the Bebop, the original, it came with the Skycontroller 1. I did an unboxing video of the Parrot Bebop version 1. I don't know if I'm going to post it. You guys let me know if you want to see that. I also did an unboxing of this, but I didn't post it because I just didn't know if it was something that everyone would really want to see. So you guys let me know. If you guys want to see that, then for sure I can post that content. So anyways, this is a drastic redesign in terms of the Skycontroller 2 versus the Skycontroller 1. Skycontroller 1 was humongous. It's huge. It was probably about this wide. You had two separate controllers. Well, we're not going to talk too much about the Skycontroller 1, but it was huge. This is a lot smaller. This is more reminiscent of like a Xbox style controller or just a gamepad in general. It's comfortable, lightweight, really easy and simple to use, very intuitive. Let's go ahead and look at the buttons here. You have the settings button. So you have your phone connected, you tap settings, and the settings will pop up on the phone. You return to home, your takeoff and land. This is your power button. It's your joystick. This ascends, descend, pan left, pan right. This is your throttle, forward, reverse, bank left, bank right. This starts recording. This takes pictures. This is the plug to plug in the charge. It has a built-in non-removable battery that gives roughly about 4 hours of playtime. I would say you get a little bit less than that because when you plug in your phone to this, it starts to charge the phone. But still, you can fly the Bebop 2 at least 4 or 5 times before you need to recharge it, so no big deal. This here is the antenna. You're supposed to be able to get up to 2,000 meters or 2 kilometers with the Skycontroller 2. In my usage, I've gotten roughly about 1,000, but your mileage may vary because of obstacles and interferences that you may have that deteriorate your signal the further the Bebop 2 gets away. For here, you have 2 triggers. One of these is your yaw, and one of these is the pitch. I never personally utilize it because the Bebop 2 was just so stable in its flight, and it pretty much digitally was able to self-maintain. It never really swayed left or swayed right. It was stable the entire time. So I never utilized these at all in my personal experience. But you can adjust that accordingly. Here you have the button to adjust the camera angle. So you can have the Bebop essentially can look straight ahead, or when you adjust the camera, it will maneuver and go all the way down up to a 90-degree angle. So if you wanted to hover this above you and then go straight up in the air to see how far you can take it and make yourself look like a dot or an ant, You definitely can do that. It's pretty cool. And then, like I said, you can adjust it and go straight ahead, so you can look over the rooftops or plants or trees or whatever it is that you're hovering over, or look straight ahead at yourself if you're recording, whatever the case may be. On this side, you can adjust the contrast and brightness on the fly, which is really cool. And you can do that live. So while you're recording a video, if you're looking directly in the sunlight and you realize, okay, this is a little bit too bright, you can adjust it to be a little bit darker. Or if you're looking off and things look too dark, maybe it's sunset, it's a little bit too dark, you can adjust it to make things a little bit brighter. So that's cool, and I like the fact that you can do that live while recording. Overall, this controller is very comfortable, like I said, lightweight. I really like it a lot. No knocks against the controller in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing that I think they could have done to make this better, in my personal opinion. It's not, like I said, it's not like an RC controller, it's more of like a gamepad, and I really do like that. So, now we're going, okay, so also with the controller comes this. You can take this, so you can obviously utilize this and fly the drone directly. You don't need your phone connected, but if you want live view, you go ahead and take this. You lock that into place, put your phone in here, lock it. Here you have the opening for the micro USB, come out and plug in right here. Or if you had a tablet, then you just turn it this way, come out and plug it in there. This thing rotates full all the way around, so whichever way you want to mount it, completely up to you. And then obviously you can mount it that way and this way. So like I said, overall it's pretty cool. No knocks against that. I like the controller a lot, personally. Okay, so moving on. Was there anything else I wanted to say about that? No. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and, I mean, it's almost self-explanatory. It just comes in right here and then locks into place. I like the live view feature a lot on the controller and with the system to be able to plug in and do that. I like that a lot, personally. All right, I don't think there was anything else I wanted to say about that. So now we get on to the Bebop 2. The Bebop 2 overall design, I like a lot. It doesn't look as childish. In my opinion, the Bebop 1 looked a bit more kiddie. I don't know if it was because of the color choices that they had with the red, blue, and yellow. This comes in either black and white or red and black. I like the black and white version. It has a nice weight to it. Doesn't feel too light. I feel like when things are too light, it feels too cheap. Even the original Bebop 1 had a nice weight to it, which was surprising to me, and I like that about it. So here, improvement over the Bebop 1 is the battery. I will say though that this is the not the worst design, because it definitely is a better improvement over the Bebop 1 in terms of how they house the battery. But I just think that they could have made this a bit more intuitive in how you remove the battery. I guess I've sort of got this thing down to a science to how to remove it, but it could be easier. So you have to lift this up to unlock it, then you have to stabilize the drone itself so it doesn't move, and move the battery at the same time. So it's not very easy to do, which is, I just don't understand why, you know, the engineers couldn't think of something a little bit better. So definitely an improvement over the Bebop 1, because the Bebop 1 was housed and held in place by Velcro. So this is a better locking mechanism, but I just think that since this is the part that literally you're going to be touching the battery every single time you're going to take this thing out because it needs to charge, and then you need to put the battery back in, I just thought that they could have done something to make it a bit more user-friendly. So this battery here is a 2700 milliamp hour battery, gets you about 25 minutes of time, which in my opinion is more than enough. Definite improvement over the Bebop. The original Bebop got you about 12 minutes of flight time. With this, at the standard settings that the Bebop comes in at, which I'll talk about later, you can get about 25 minutes. But if you start adjusting things and, you know, obviously increasing the maximum speed, then that flight time will decrease, obviously, because you're pushing it to the limits. So it's going to use more juice, which is understandable and makes sense. So yeah, and then you can obviously just go buy another one of these if you need to. I think they run about 50 bucks, which is definitely on the cheaper side when you compare it to some of the other higher end drones that are available. I do, like I said, I like the design a lot. I just think that functionally they could have done a little bit better on the battery. Definitely an improvement over the Bebop 1, but I think maybe the Bebop 3 will get it perfect, hopefully. Now here we have the camera, and this is the most, I want to say, underrated camera that is out, because a lot of people, what deters a lot of people from buying the Bebop 2 is the camera, because you look at something like the DJI Phantom series and you look at those cameras and you're like, wow, that looks good, and then you look at some of the footage on YouTube of this camera and it just looks crappy. I have no idea why the footage comes out crappy on YouTube. I guess for some of those users, I don't know if they're uploading a compressed file format, but I'll go ahead and throw some footage at the end of this video. Camera, in my opinion, is pretty good. If you didn't have, obviously, 4K, I mean, kind of goes without saying. If the 4K camera wasn't available, I do think that this would be the standard. It's nice. The color reproduction, in my opinion, is really good. At sometimes things do get washed out, but that just depends on how you're changing the focus on the controller. So let's say if you're focusing on something that's a little bit lower and you have it sitting at an angle, then obviously that area is going to be a little bit more focused. And I mean, not out of focus, because it's still in focus. It's just that the color reproduction is going to be better at that, versus let's say if you're over the rooftops of something and you're clearly have the camera looking at the rooftops, then the sky is going to be washed out, which I don't want to say sucks, but obviously if you get a nicer or better camera, that doesn't necessarily happen. But overall, I do think that this camera is really nice. And I'm going to go and upload footage, like I said, and you guys can be the judge for yourself, but I think this is an underrated camera. Also, another good thing is that this doesn't have a gimbal, so the less moving parts, the better. It's all sort of digital, so you can read here, 3-axis image stabilization, 14 megapixel camera, f2.3 aperture. The image stabilization is silky smooth. I believe it's all done digitally, and so when you're panning and you're looking over, you know, the horizon or over houses or whatever it is that you may be looking at, over some trees, there's no like stutters or no jittery movements whatsoever, which is nice. No shakiness, and that's perfect, because you know when you're looking at this footage, the way that the drone moves, it's already pretty stable, but obviously it's not super stable. And so, as you know, when anybody's recording anything, you can have shaky hands, and luckily you don't have to worry about that with the Bebop 2. So like I said, in my opinion, the footage is really good. The camera is really nice. The photos come out okay as well. I didn't take a bunch of photos because I'm just not a real photo person. I use this more just to capture lots of video footage so far. So I guess I'll go ahead and speak on that. So most of the time when you take photos though, they will come out, if you use this button here to take photos, then they're going to come out in the fisheye lens, which sort of sucks. And you can, once you upload those photos onto your computer, you can remove the fisheye. It's not a problem. But you also can do that directly from here, from the Free Flight 3 app. So let me go ahead and show you on this really quickly. So here, to change that, you go here to Fly and Film. Then you would, okay, so sorry, take this out. So you have to tap here, it's 1080p. Then you have to tap the video camera. You tap the actual camera itself. Then from here, you can change it to DNG, JPEG, or JPEG 180, whatever it is that you want to change it to. Then you just hit the back button. Then if you're utilizing this controller, you press B to take the photo now. So now B is going to take the photo because you have this changed up top here from recording to taking photos. And then when you do that, they're going to come out as regular still images. Then to get out of that, you want to go back to recording. Just tap here again. You just do the opposite. Tap that, you tap the video camera, and you can adjust the settings as you want. So it's a bummer to me that you kind of sort of have to do that. If there's another way to get out of that, then please post and let me know. That's the only way that I know how to do it. But yeah, so the camera still images still are pretty good as well. So another thing with the camera, the only time that I've seen where this camera suffers is if you're, just like any camera really, if you're staring directly into sunlight. That gets pretty difficult for any camera sort of to handle that, but you can adjust, like I said, the contrast and brightness on the fly from here to handle that, which is pretty cool. But besides that, I want to say 90% of the time when you're flying, it's going to be a sunny day and you're going to have excellent sunlight. And so as long as you have the sun at the back, the footage is going to come out amazing. I don't I can't think of any reason as to why it won't. But like I said, I'll go ahead and upload the footage and you guys can be the judge yourself. It's not going to be as nice, obviously, as something that just records at a higher resolution, but it's still pretty damn good in my opinion. So if you're looking at getting this drone versus like maybe the DJI Phantom Standard 3, which is what I was considering, which shoots at 2.7K, that is a nice camera. But I do think that this has a lot going for it in terms of the main thing, which is flight. I have never flown the DJI Phantom Standard, so I really can't speak on that, but I know from personal experience, this thing is it's just fun to fly. It's extremely fun. Once you go in, even from the standard settings, it moves around pretty nimbly and it's pretty quick. But once you start going in the settings and you adjust the max tilt speed and vertical, the maximum vertical speed as well, this thing really flies. It's pretty damn quick. And so I like that. Also, you can do tricks. You can do front flips, back flips, side flips. You can't do that with the DJI Phantom Standard. That may not be something that you want to do anyways, but just throwing it out there. If that is something that you want to be able to do. It's a smaller drone, so because it's smaller, it's just, I think, nimbler and it can maneuver. Also, this thing, it can't take a beating, but I have actually crashed this a couple times and it still flies perfectly well. At least when I was doing my research with the DJI Phantom Standard, you really can't do that as much from what I was seeing. And so you have to replace those, obviously, if they break. So let's go ahead. I guess you need to know this. This is the Free Flight Pro app, which is what you'll have to use with this. So if you just bought the Bebop 2, then you would control it directly here from your phone. You would not use any of these. So then what happens is you would download this app. You'd go here. It would search for Wi-Fi, find drone. Once you turn it on, connect. Then you go to find film, and then these are your virtual joysticks. Personally, I like the physical joysticks better. I don't like utilizing the phone, in my opinion, but to each his own. So either way, you can also come in here and adjust the settings. I feel like they did a lot to make sure that the settings, that you can adjust a lot, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think it's going to be as robust as, like, it's not completely just open source. I know that, but they did a pretty good job at just having the settings and letting you configure and change things as you want, which I like. So like here, another feature that I sort of touched on a little bit earlier is the return to home. You can adjust the return delay after disconnection. So I have mine set to 5 seconds, but you can extend that, make it longer, 114 seconds. You can make it shorter. As soon as it disconnects, it'll automatically return to home. I like mine at 5. Let's move it back to 5 if I can get it there. Okay. So that's cool. So what the return home feature does, obviously, it's pretty, makes sense, right? It disconnects the signal from the controller and the drone gets disconnected and they're no longer communicating. So what this allows the drone to do is after 5 seconds, the drone will return to its starting position. How it does that is if it's lower than, I think, 20 meters, it will ascend to about roughly 20 meters, fly over to the position where it originally launched, and then descend roughly about 6 or 7. It will not land by itself though. The only time it lands by itself is if the battery goes all the way down to 0%. So pretty cool. Obviously it makes sense. The reason why it ascends to 20 meters or whatnot is because of the fact that you could run into something that's not that low to the ground. I'm sorry, something that's not that high. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. You can run into something, obviously, if it is lower than that. So it wants to be higher than everything and then just descend. In terms of the positioning, I want to say that it's within 5 meters of where it launches. It's pretty good, which to me is more than enough. I'm sorry, not 5 meters, but about 5 feet. To me, that's more than enough, and I think that's adequate. Then let's go down here to position. I have mine set, so you can adjust the maximum altitude and distance that the drone reaches. I have mine set to 120.6 meters because in the United States you cannot go above 400 feet. I think that's roughly, hey Google, what's 400 feet in meters? 121.92, so that's pretty close. Maximum distance here, I have it set to max at 2,000 meters. We can obviously adjust that. I will say, like I said, so the furthest that I was able to get with this was 1,000 meters, and I was in a pretty open field and area. I'll probably go ahead and post that footage. I'll just post some highlights so you guys can see. But and the reason why is because it was open. There was nothing in between the Skycontroller 2 and the Bebop 2, so that's why I was able to get so far. So it's important to note that the only way that the return to home feature will work is if you have geofence enabled. So if you hit no, it's not going to return. So you're gonna lose your drone. I don't know why you wouldn't want to risk that. So, but yeah, just so you know that that's there. Let's see, piloting. Then here's where you can adjust the settings for basically the maximum speed. So I think at default it's set to about 20 degrees for the max tilt. I have mine turned all the way up to 35 because at 35 this thing really zings, it really zips super fast. Like at 20 I thought it was pretty quick, but at 35 it's ridiculously fast in my opinion. And then the max vertical speed, I have mine set to the max as well. You can go in here and adjust whatever it is that you want to adjust. You can change the piloting mode for how you want it when you're on the actual phone. But again, I don't really mess with this because I never fly this without the Skycontroller 2. I just like that, in my opinion. Also, you can adjust the video settings. So there's a lot of different things that you can go in here and mess with. So overall, I like the Bebop 2. I guess if you guys didn't realize that already, I really do like this. I was in the market for a drone. I was looking at either the DJI Standard 3, DJI Phantom 3 Standard, or the Bebop 2, and I still was thinking about returning this to get the Phantom 3, but I don't think I will, only because, like I said, it's a really nice flying drone. The only reason why I would be returning it to get the DJI Phantom Standard 3 is just for curiosity to see how that drone flies. But there's nothing that this drone does in this setup that I am unhappy with. I'm perfectly happy with everything that it does. I really do like it. So in terms of the FPV, I really do think that that's something it's cool and it's nice to have. The only issue that I have with that is that, at least in my experiences in the places that I've been flying, when you use FPV, you sort of have to be sitting. And so when you have this connected through the Skycontroller, on the bottom left hand, down here it'll be a little cone, it'll be a little red cone, and it'll show you, I'm sorry, not a red cone, a green cone, and it'll show you where the Bebop 2 is in relation to the Skycontroller. So you want to keep the Bebop 2 within the green cone, obviously. And so if you're flying and zipping around, depending on the distances that you're at, you're going to have to turn the controller. And so if it goes behind you or whatever the case may be, then you have to physically turn. And so I just find that that's harder to do with the goggles because you need to be sitting down. You can't really stand and do this. You can become disoriented pretty quick, and then obviously you're walking around or standing blindly. If somebody runs into you, whatever the case may be, that's a safety issue. So for sure you need to be sitting down when you utilize this. I just need to find an area that's open enough for me to utilize the FPV goggles in that manner, and also where I can just sit down and not really have to worry about physically turning and moving. But I do really like that. I mean, some people will not want to use it and some people will want to use it. Obviously, that's just the way that things work. But overall, I like this entire package. Like I said, I will go ahead and throw some footage on at the end of this video so you guys can check it out and see, you know, if you guys think the camera is nice enough or if you guys think, you know, it's not worth your time. But that's what I'm here for, you know, just to post reviews and give my personal opinions, and hopefully somebody out there is on the fence between, you know, this drone and maybe another one, and it'll help them decide, hey, I want that one, or hey, I don't want it. So it's Harless58 signing off. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to try and get back to you as fast as I can. I've been really busy in the hospital, so I apologize for some of the users. I've posted or answered your questions rather late, but I'm going to try and just do better at that. Alrighty, I'm going to post the footage at the end of this video. I'll see you guys later.
Rub your fingers down my spine. Rub your fingers.